that I'm elected by the people of Kenya directly. On 9th of August 2022, Kenyans woke up early to go and voting their president and deputy president. And out of the millions of Kenyans who turned up, 7.2 million Kenyans decided willingly that Dr. William Ruto should be elected as president and Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president. I think it's only fair when members of parliament decide that they want to move the deputy president from office. The people who elected Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president hear his side of the story. I think it's only fair. And I thought it's also respectful to the voters to have the first opportunity to hear from me before the honorable members, because they are the ones who elected me to office. Article 1 of the Kenya Constitution says that the power, the sovereignty of this great nation rests with the people. In Parliament, that is the National Assembly and the Senate, enjoy delegated authority from the people. It is therefore very important that the people who elected me as deputy president get my response of the very outrageous accusations against their deputy president that have no basis, that is sheer propaganda, that is a scheme to hold me out of office because of other political considerations, and has nothing to do with violation of the Constitution. It has nothing to do with gross misconduct, and it has absolutely nothing to do with committing international or national crimes. The people of Kenya are therefore entitled by right to hear from their deputy president what is his response to those outrageous allegations. Again, an attempt to do a public participation in a very short exercise that was done. My response was not part of what was presented to the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya were being asked to give their views as to whether the deputy president should be impeached from office, and the accusations were attached, but in a highly legalistic language beyond the comprehension of many Kenyans. But the response of the deputy president was not there to enable them make an informed decision by listening to the charges against him and listening to his response. Because the rules of natural justice demand that no man should be condemned unheard. My lawyers will be vigorously challenging that public participation as a nullity, and that does not meet the threshold of public participation as expounded by the Supreme Court of Kenya during the celebrated case of Governor Peter Wabora. The motion alleges that 2 years since assuming office, Rigathi Gachagua has acquired property and wealth whose estimated value is 5.2 billion, despite his known income by way of employment is 24 million. This is extremely outrageous. Honorable Mutuse goes ahead to give properties that he alleges are owned by one Rigathi Gachagua. I trust he was just given a document to sign. Had he taken some bit of time to do some research, he would not embarrass himself and the National Assembly. James Derito Gachagua was the governor of Nyeri and died in London on the 24th of February 2017, and yours truly, Rigathi Gachagua, was by his bedside. Prior to his death, 3 or 4 weeks before, in privacy, he wrote his will and appointed Rigathi Gachagua as an executor of that will jointly with Mwai Madenge, his close-time buddy, who is seconded his affair, and celebrated lawyer Njoroge Regeru. The three of us were tasked to manage his estate. In the will, you'll be given a copy. He did put his properties and assets and cash and anything that he owned in this world. And among the things that he did put was the Olive Garden Hotel, Vipingo Beach Resort, the Queen's Gate apartment, and Langata high-rise flats. It is these four properties that the Honorable Mutuse alleges that Rigathi Gachagua has acquired them after becoming Deputy President in 2022 when Nderitu Gachagua died in 2017. It is the most embarrassing allegation a member of parliament can table before the National Assembly. Those properties were constructed and were in operation when the late Gachagua was alive. I take this opportunity to ask for forgiveness to my late brother, James Nderitu Gachagua, that today, as your younger brother defends himself, he'll defile your privacy by distributing your will that you wrote in privacy. That your properties that you worked so hard for many years to benefit your wives and children are now a subject of discussion and are alleged to be proceeds of corruption. How unfair, well, can you be to a dead man? A man who worked so hard, a man who gave his life for his family, to buy plots, to construct property, and leave them in his death for his children and his brothers and sisters. And then you go to the floor of the House and allege that those properties are production of corruption. My dear brother, rest in peace and forgive me for having joined politics. Because were it not for politics, you would not suffer this shame. Your children are crestfallen as they see their properties being splashed in newspapers as proceeds of crime. The Olive Garden Hotel that is alleged to have been bought by Rigathi Gachagua belongs to the estate of the late James Nderitu Gachagua. And in his will, he directed that we sell all his properties and divide the proceeds among his brothers, sisters, wives, and children. We, as the executors of his estate, and I want to pay tribute to lawyer Njoroge Regeru and Mwai Madenge for their commitment and sacrifice to the Gachagua family. Many executors who have been given properties to run by deceased people end up misusing them and depriving the beneficiaries. These two great men and myself, because my brother knew I'm an honest man and a fair person, and he knew his family would never suffer in my hands. We were able to sell Olive Garden Hotel at 412 million and distributed the proceeds to the beneficiaries as directed in his will. We registered his will in the High Court of Kenya and were given the probate. And my late brother, in his wisdom, left Rigathi Gachagua 5% of his wealth. I was therefore able to get 20 million shillings from this sale. That is money that is in my account that again I'm told they are proceeds of crime. He left my mother 5% of his wealth, another 20 million shillings. And since my mother is dead, my late brother, because he trusted me, had put in his will that I hold my mother's shares in trust. So that is another 20 million shillings in my account. Again, my late brother left me another 4% to hold in trust of the children of another brother of ours who is deceased, the late Dr. Friend Wachira Gachagua, whose children are in South Africa. And another 16 million shillings was put in my account. My late brother gave 2% to my wife, Pastor Dorcas, because of her kindness of looking after him when he was ill. All this money that has come to me from a dead brother, I'm being told are proceeds of crime. Queen's Gate Service Apartments, another property belonging to the late Gachagua, is another property that I'm told I've bought as when I'm deputy president. That is why I have 5.2 billion worth of money. And this property, again, we sold the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, the staff retirement benefits for nearly 600 million. And this money we utilized to pay his debts. And today, as the late Gachagua rests in heaven, he has no debt. Again, I want to thank my fellow executors, Njoroge Regeru and Mwai Matenge, for what you have done for my brother. Vipingo Beach Resort in Kilifi was Gachagua's holiday home, a beautiful palatial resort on 3.5 acres on the beach. I remember with nostalgia that he used to host us there every Christmas to enjoy ourselves. This property still belongs to the estate of the deceased because ourselves have a family. We want to retain it for sentimental value so that when we visit there, we remember him and his kindness. The Honorable Mutuse again goes to the National Assembly in a very emotional manner, quoting the Bible, says that this property has been bought corruptly by the Deputy President without knowing where the money has come from. I have seen some land, Rogoro Kiamariga, 1223 in Mathera East constituency. To start with, Rogoro Kiamariga is not in Mathera East constituency. It is in Mathera West constituency. In haste to dispose of the Deputy President because of political deceit and conmanship and betrayal, they could not even get it right where the land is situated. They were in such a haste to get rid of the Deputy President. The land is Rogoro/Kiamariga, 1223 in Mathera West constituency. It's a 2-acre piece of land. It's alleged it has a helipad. It's a lie. The land is 2 kilometers from my rural home. And I have planted napier grass for my dairy unit. I bought it at 3.5 million shillings. Again, proceeds from my dairy farm. I have a dairy farm with almost 150 cows. And I do make an income of almost 1.5 million shillings every month. I can surely afford to buy 2 acres of land. And I take this opportunity to thank my brothers from the Kalenjin community for that dairy farm. Anytime I've gone to the Rift Valley, in appreciation of the support I give President William Ruto, the Kalenjin community always gives me a cow or two. And within 2 years, I have the largest dairy farm in Madeira constituency, courtesy of the Kalenjin people. I want to thank them for their kindness. I have seen an accusation that I've bought 40 acres of land in Kakuret, Kabraine, in Kieni, Nyeri constituency as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. I saw the Honorable Njoroge Wainaina, the MP for Kieni, signed the notice of motion to impeach me on the allegations, this one being among them. Had there been no malice, Njoroge Wainaina, the Honorable MP for Kieni, would have advised the Honorable Mutuse that he sold me this land in the year 2015. I have a sale agreement I'll give you with this picture. I bought this land from the Honorable Njoroge Wainaina in 2015. I was not even a member of parliament. Yet he has appended his signature that I should be impeached and go home for having corruptly bought 40 acres of land in Kakuret. In fact, the land is not 40 acres, actually 35. The allegation is that it's 40 acres, but that land is 35 acres. The people of Kakuret know it. I bought it from the Honorable MP for Kieni, and had he read this motion, I'm sure he would not have signed it. But as you all know, there was a lot of coercion, there was a lot of intimidation, and I'm sorry that I'm told the Honorable Wainaina is admitted in hospital because of threats, coercion. He is being forced to hang a brother against his will and his conscience. These are the lies that Mutuse brought to the National Assembly, and asking the people of Kenya to get rid of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya based on lies. I have seen another ridiculous allegation that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, has since becoming Deputy President, acquired 80 acres of land in Meru. That is false. What is true is that the Deputy President is a member of Solution Circle Limited in Meru. And for those who do not know, the Deputy President is half Meru, half Kikuyu. His mother, the late mother Kirigo Gachagua, was born in Meru in a place called Katheri, and thereafter settled in Kiberesha. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua sometimes is a lonely man. His father is dead, his mother is dead. His brother Derito Gachagua, the governor, died of pancreatic cancer. His brother, Dr. Fred Wachira Gachagua, died because of alcohol. His other brother, Jackson Radiani, died because of alcohol. His sisters are married. So when he goes home, many times he's lonely. And he decided to look for some land in Meru where he can go and build a house and be among his relatives, his mother's relatives. And in the process, I identified that 29-acre land and borrowed money from Solution Circle, which I'm paying every month. We'll give you documents to show you that this is 29 acres, not 8 acres, that I have bought from a loan that I have taken as a member of Solution Circle in Meru, the land of my mother, and which I call home. I have seen an allegation that I have a dairy farm in Nyandarua, I don't have a single animal in Nyandarua. I have some little land in a place called Shamata, but I'm yet to do anything about it. I think I just mentioned it to one of the member of parliament for that area called Gashagwa that I would like to start a dairy farm. And I think in those rumors in parliament, the Honorable Mutuse went ahead to say that I own a dairy farm in Nyandarua. I own no such farm today, but God willing, because of the good climate in Daragwa, in Shamata, one day, God willing, I'll have a huge dairy farm. I have seen companies listed just to create an impression that Rigathi Gachagua is doing business. I want the people of Kenya to know that Rigathi Gachagua was a businessman before he became a politician. And he had a life. And that life is part of his history. So getting companies that were associated with him 15 years ago, 13 years ago, 10 years ago, and publishing them, it's just being mischievous. My life did not start as deputy president. I left university in 1989 and served the public for 15 years, up to the year 2002. I left for the private sector for another 15 years. In those 15 years, I was a very astute businessman. And luckily for me, maybe of you are not that lucky, it was during the Kibaki era when things were working. The economy was strong, business environment was right, and there was room to make money. And I made money that time. Those are old companies, and they are not trading. And when I became deputy president, a few companies that owned properties, I transferred to my children, and I told them to continue doing business and not to do business with the government because I don't want conflict of interest. I want to confirm to the people of Kenya tonight that no company owned by my children has ever done business with the government, and I'm demanding for proof from the Honorable Mutuse or anybody else linking the Rigathi Gachagua family with business deals with the Kenya government. I agreed with my children that they do business with the private sector, do farming, and run the family business that I bequeathed them. These companies are all listed. And just for clarity, because I don't think they are worth a reply, because there's nothing about them. Rigathi Gachagua Foundation. As a member of parliament, I was educating orphans, I was educating children of single mothers, I was educating children of PWDs. And the education needed to continue, and I don't have the benefit of CDF money. So I started a foundation, the Rigathi Gachagua Foundation, to continue doing the work of charity. I have seen my foundation here. The Honorable Mutuse has not said what crime the Deputy President has done by having a foundation that is non-profit making. For the purposes of clarity, I'll give you the bank statement for this foundation. I've only received a total of 12 million shillings from well-wishers, which have educated children, have educated students at Pwani University, and other vulnerable people. Dorcas Rigathi Gachagua Foundation, this is just an attempt to bring my family into mud. Every Kenyan knows the work Dorcas Rigathi has done in this country for the boy child. She has opened clinics for addicted children, and she gets a lot of money in her foundation. Since a decision was made that the government will not fund the office of the spouse of the deputy president, Kenyans of goodwill flock to her every day with cash donations, with material donations, for her to continue with a very good program she's doing of rehabilitating children in Kilifi, in Mombasa, in Nyandarua, in Laikipia, in Nairobi, and her work is well documented. I am here to see from the mover of this motion what crime the Dorcas Rigathi Gachagua Foundation has done. There is no allegation, there is no evidence, there is nothing. Against Rigathi Gachagua Foundation, there is nothing. Spiritway Limited is a company registered by Dorcas Rigathi that does work with church ministries. This ministry has not traded, does not even have a bank account. It's some strong women of God who have come together to create a company around their issues to preach the gospel. The mover of this motion has not indicated at all what crime this company has committed, other than dragging the name of my wife into mud in the National Assembly. Calvary Creed International Limited, as the name suggests, is a company founded by my wife in 2015, long before I became a deputy president. Again, on evangelism and activities to do with the Church of Christ. I have not seen a single allegation against this company. Mothers of the Lord Limited. Again, this is a company incorporated my wife, Pastor Dorcas, in 2021 with our friends. It has never traded. It does not even have a bank account. The Anani Collective. This is a business name registered by my son, Dr. Keith Rigathi, in 2021 before I came into office. And I've asked him, and he has told me the ideas he had, they have not yet come to fruition. So the company is dormant. I am waiting to see a single allegation against this company by this young man. Grad Pass Apartments Limited is a company that the executors of the late Gachagua put together to manage Langata View Apartments. The late Gachagua left 80 apartments for his children in Langata and asked us to sell and distribute the proceeds to the wives, the children, and the brothers in a formula that he gave. In a family meeting that I chaired, we agreed as a family that we should not sell the flats. We should share them so that everybody can be getting a rental income. In that formula, because of the shares he gave to me, I have 10 flats. His daughter has 10, his wife has 5, another one has 2, another has 1. So we did put this company together called Grand Bypass Apartments Limited. This is a company that will be managing those flats on behalf of the beneficiaries of the estate of the late Gachagua. Again, this company has been put here by the Honorable Mutuse as a company that is involved in corruption. A company set to manage flats belonging to a dead good man who had foresight to think about the future of his children. And in his death, he is being haunted on nonsensical allegations simply because a decision has been made that Rigathi Gachagua is no longer useful to this administration. He is a spent cartridge. His work was to help fight Uhuru Kenyatta and get President William Ruto to power. And thereafter, he is of no use. So he should be dispensed with, and somebody else can be appointed against the will of the Kenyan people. That is the viciousness that we are even fighting the dead. How cruel can we be? How insensitive can we be? What is this power thing? That you even fight the dead for you to entrench yourself in power and get rid of your perceived political enemies. I appeal to the people of Kenya to have respect for the dead, if nothing else. People may have money, they may have power, they may have everything, but they must remember that it is very respectful to respect the dead. Please, stop haunting my late brother. Don't put him on trial. He committed no crime by working hard and leaving an inheritance for his children and entrusting his brother, Rigathi Gachagua, to look after that property. Fortis Viz Group Limited is a company incorporated in 2023 by my son Kevin and Dr. Keith. Again, some two very enterprising young men. This company has not even taken off. They are still figuring out what business they can do. And before they can even settle down, their father is under siege. So they have to come here every day to keep me company and find out what is not happening. This company has not even started. These are young people, children. Why do you want to destroy their future? By putting their names in the press with negativity because you want to destroy their father. These are innocent boys who have decided to invest in their own country. Why do you want to destroy them? You can destroy Rigathi Gachagua, fair enough, he has lived for 59 years. But these boys, 130 years, why do you want to destroy them? Pioneer Medical Company Group, I founded this company in the year 2008. It has not done business for the last 10 years. Why are you bringing it to Parliament? Rido Furniture Mart Limited, I founded this company with my wife, Pastor Dorcas, in the year 1999. We used to sell furniture at the roundabout at Bomas on your way to Rongai. And we built this company from scratch. And it's been in existence for years. And when we stopped trading with it, we put up apartments in Kroi, in Rongai, called Rido Plaza, that are managed by this company. We collect rent. We have, I think, 40, 50 flats there, and pay tax every month. What wrong has Rido Furniture Mart done? Rido Plaza was constructed in 2012, 10 years before Rigathi Gachagua became deputy president. Even if you want to kill this man and make sure he's totally destroyed, why don't you pursue him for the 2 years he has been in office? Why do you want to go back 20 years before he became deputy president, and criminalize his enterprise and his hard work? Biovet Kenya Limited is a company, again, I founded in 2009. Many years before I even went to Parliament. It has not done business for the last 15 years. Not a single shred of evidence that this company has done wrong. It's not there. Murani Manufacturers Limited. It's a company that is founded by a character from our village, and sold some shares to my wife and my children and interested them in manufacturing feeds for pigs and for chicken. It never even took off. This company has never traded in government. It has not done any business. It is actually dormant. I'm told the account has only 132,000 shillings. And you want to set the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, a man elected by 7.2 million Kenya shillings, because his wife and children have some shares in a company that has 132,000 shillings. Surely. Delta Merchants Limited is a company I founded in 2009 during the Kibaki era. It has not done business for 15 years. We demand that you say what this company has done. Wamunyoro Investments Limited is a company named after my village in Wamunyoro, which I founded in the year 2001 as a construction company. This company owns a lot of property that I bought in those years when the economy of this country was on sound footing. Since I became Deputy President, we ceased all activities of this company. It has not done a single transaction with anybody. The company is dormant, but it owns property. Those properties were bought and acquired long before I became Deputy President. Cosmea Venture Limited is a company that was incorporated in 2018 before I became Deputy President by my sons. They do what you call bulk SMS. I used to give them work when I was Member of Parliament to send messages to my constituents. I think they were charging me 30 cents per SMS. Some young, enterprising young people. Company 2018, it doesn't do business with government. It is not accused of any wrongdoing by anybody, anywhere. It's just putting the name there. Royal Crimson Ventures Limited, again incorporated in 2018 by my children to do their little business. No allegation of any wrongdoing has been annexed to the motion. Kurito Properties Limited, again, this is a company that me and the co-executors put together for the purposes of managing the Vipingo Hotel. No details of any accusation, any wrongdoing, nothing. Crystal Kenya Limited, this company I founded in 2009. And when I became Deputy President, I gave out my shares to my children, and myself and my wife, we got out and asked them to continue doing business. My two children, like their father, very enterprising. Nyeri County, where I come from, we were hit badly by COVID, and all our hotels shut down. Hundreds of jobs were lost. Many people who were supplying to those hotels shut down. The two most important hotels in Nyeri is the Outspan Hotel and the Treetops Hotel, and they are always run together. The Outspan Hotel was for sale, and my children were interested, and I encouraged them. Treetops Hotel cannot be sold. It belongs to KWS. It's a government hotel. You can only lease. And the person who owned Outspan Hotel had also leased the Treetops Hotel. So my son acquired Outspan Hotel and got an assignment of the lease. So they don't own Treetops Hotel. It's on a lease from KWS to Abadea Safari then an easement to Crystal Kenya that is run by my children. I shouldn't be here talking about Crystal Kenya Limited and my children because they are not part of this proceeding. But they have no other forum to defend themselves, so I have to defend them. They are grown-ups. They should defend themselves, but they don't have the forum. They went to a bank and borrowed 600 million. The documents are there. And bought a hotel and bought the lease. And I publicly announced that my family has acquired the 2 hotels because there was nothing to hide. I saw no need to advise my children, like other people do, to buy the properties through proxy because this was straight business. They went and borrowed 600 million from the bank. And they were given 1-year moratorium, which is not over, to do the renovations and all that and open the facility. But I want to thank my son, Dr. Keith Regadi. He worked very hard. That I think last month or so, I was at the treetops with the British High Commissioner to open the treetops. The treetops is so important to the people of Nyeri and the Aberdare ecosystem. It is in the treetops hotel that Princess Elizabeth slept as a princess and woke up as a queen. And when that facility was shut down, it was very devastating to the people of Nyeri and the Aberdare ecosystem. So when the people of Nyeri heard that the son of the deputy president is interested in leasing that facility from KWS and reopen it, there was joy and ululation in the Aberdares. Since this hotel opened, 45 Kenyans are back to work. The mama mboga we talked about during our campaign are supplying vegetables to that hotel. The local butchers are supplying meat to that hotel. The traditional Moboko dancers come every weekend to entertain the tourists and get some payment. The tourism circuit of the Aberdare is back because of these 2 young men who are now being demonized as crooks, as criminals, who should not invest in their own motherland because they are the sons of the deputy president. The deputy president of the Republic of Kenya spends a lot of time in one of his functions that he has been given by the president to coordinate development partners and look for investors. Why should the deputy president go to look for foreign investors when his own children can invest at home? Children of many other people I know hide their money in Dubai and Cayman Islands. They don't want to invest here. What crime have the children of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya committed by borrowing money from a bank to buy a hotel and spur tourism, create employment, and spur business within the local environment? These boys are so demoralized, asking me, Dad, why didn't you advise us that it's a crime to be your children, that we have no life of our own, that we shouldn't invest in our own country, and if we dare to invest, we should do it at our proxy so that we conceal our identity? Are we criminals by virtue of being your children? That's a question my children are asking me. What crime can children of Kenya commit to borrow money from a bank and start an enterprise and employ people and spur tourism? How unfair can a country be to its young population to condemn them for being enterprising? I'm being told by the National Assembly that I need to be impeached from office because my children have dared to borrow money buy property in their name and invest in their own country. And for that, their father should be sent home. I want to conclude by Karadi Farm Limited. This is a farm I founded in 2001 with my wife, Pastor Dorcas. And it runs our farms. It runs our dairy farm in Nyeri that is doing very well. I'm making $1 million shillings also every month. And I sell calves, and it's doing very well. And my farm now has become a model farm for the local farmers. We are doing chicken, we are doing rabbits, we are doing sheep. Again, nobody has told me what crime has Karandi Farm committed. Technical Supplies and Services Kenya Limited, a company I founded in 2001. I did business during the Kibaki era. When things got very bad, I stopped doing business with it. It has not done business for the last 8 years. And of course, in the 2 years I've been deputy president. I want proof. Tomorrow, the National Assembly to table proof what these companies have done. They'll be very embarrassed before the people of Kenya. This will be the most shameful act ever in the history of our National Assembly, where you go table a motion that is so sensational based on trash and not a single accusation backed by evidence. I have seen an allegation that exerting influence on officials of the Ministry of Lands to issue an allotment letter to Amunyoro Investments Limited and using the fraudulently acquired documents to support a court case. Again, Amunyoro Investments Limited was never allotted any land. This parcel of land, 209/12077, Amunyoro acquired at 24 million shillings in the year 2012. The documents are there, we'll give them to you. Purchase from a third party. Somebody went to the National Land Commission and lodged a case and claimed the property belonged to him, a former senior officer in the Ministry of Lands. And the National Land Commission made a determination, the records are there, that the land belongs to Amunyoro Investments Limited. Again, he went to the High Court in the year 2022. I was not deputy president. I made my witness statement before I became deputy president. I supplied all documents before I became deputy president. I did not file any evidence as deputy president. And the matter was concluded, and the High Court issued a judgment. We'll give you the judgment that the land belongs to Amunyoro Investments Limited. I am told that they have appealed the judgment. I invite the Honorable Mutuse to apply to be co-joined in the appeal, and then he can argue his case. This is a matter that has been adjudicated by the High Court of Kenya and made a determination. And you want to bring it to the National Assembly. The matter is alive with the Court of Appeal. It is sub judice to even discuss it in Parliament, because a determination has been made. Irregular procurement of mosquito nets at a cost of 3.7 billion. I saw a huge headline from the Star newspaper, planted headline. This is the most ridiculous headline I've ever seen, and this is the most I lack a proper one, and I don't want to speak in Kikuyu. I think somebody needs to give you some water. What I'm looking for. I have seen that allegation, and I want to respond as follows. One, there is Andrew Murwa, he has sworn an affidavit with the false allegations. And he had better be very careful, because he has made a statement on oath. In the affidavit, he says that Deputy President was involved in KEMSA 3.7 billion irregular procurement of malaria nets, either directly or through proxies. Further, Shobika Impex Limited is an international company, the fourth largest manufacturer of mosquito nets in the world. It has done many tenders with KEMSA, with the Global Fund, countries in Africa, in Asia. And there was a tender. There was a tender funded by Global Fund through KEMSA, and it was an international tender for manufacturers. The company owned by my son Christo Kenya Limited are not manufacturers, and they did not participate in any way in the tender. In any way. What happened is that in the year 2014, 8 years before I became Deputy President, Shobika Impex Limited appointed Christo Kenya as their local agent, whose work is to do their errands and follow their supplies at the ports of entry. Christo Kenya did not participate in this tender. It was done by Shobika. KEMSA wrote to Shobika and said, your tender was not successful because you had a problem with pagination of your security document. Pagination. Those of you who have done tenders, you number the pages. And if they are not right, you can be disqualified. And therefore, they were told, can you come and collect your bid board, your original bid board? That's what happens. If you participate in a tender and you don't win, you are asked to collect your bid board. And they kept on coming to collect the bid board. It was not available for almost 3 months. And they asked the local agent, that is Christo Kenya Limited, can you follow up on our behalf? We participated in this tender, we did not win. We have a letter asking us to collect the bid board. We are waiting for it because this is money that is tied as our agent in Kenya. Can you follow up? And that is why when my son on behalf of Christo Kenya Limited went to KEMSA trying to follow up, and when it was not working, he brought it to my attention and I made a call to Mr. Andrew Mulwa asking, my son has been here. There's a little issue about a bid board of an unsuccessful tenderer. Why is it that this is money that is tied? And these are foreigners, these are foreign investors. We don't want to make life difficult for them. Please, why don't you release it to it unless there's a problem? Oh, you say, no, the matter is under investigation. That is why we cannot release it. The bid board is with the SEC. I said, fine. If the matter is under investigation, so be it. Right along, the investigations were over. EACC wrote to KEMSA and returned the bid board. KEMSA in return wrote to Shobika and returned the bid board. End of story. Shobika did not win the tender. They were not awarded the contract to supply the nets. No nets were supplied by Shobika. No public funds were lost. And we are told by Deputy President asking why a bid board to a tenderer who has failed to win cannot be returned. He endangered the lives of the people of Kenya. That is how absurd the allegation is. There is no evidence that the company with my son participated in the tender. They did not participate. There is no evidence that the deputy president interfered with the tender. The only crime is that urging so that we don't frustrate foreign investors. If they were not successful, why are you keeping their tender security? You need to give it to them. And it was a lot of money. I think it was 500 million or something like that. So I want to say this is a very ridiculous, and I take great exception to the headline by the Star. Please, we'll give you the documents. Tell us, where was the deputy president involved in a tender? This is a tender that never was. And for the record, to show that this tender had no problem, after the investigations, during the investigations, the CEO, Terry Ramathani, was suspended to allow investigations as it should be. And Mulwa became the CEO. Mulwa was not there during the tendering. He came after the tender had been annulled. And now he was dealing with the aftermath of the annulment of the tender, that is returning the bid boards, sending document to ACC. After investigations by ACC and the Senate were concluded, Terry Ramadhani was appointed by President William Ruto as the Deputy High Commissioner to India. That tells you, because when those appointments are made, the head of public service writes to ACC, DCI on issues of integrity. Terry was cleared, which means there was no scandal. And again, and most important, no public funds were lost, no nets were supplied. Therefore, this is another fishing expedition to just justify the 5.2 billion. I think that is why they were putting the 3.7 billion to make the maths to add up. You know, when you want to talk big figures, you must look for 3.7, 600 and all that. Even all these things I've read here, if you take your phones, we are nowhere even, we have not reached 2 billion. Because Olive Garden 400 million, Queensgate Apartment 600 million, Outspan and Treetop 600. So these are just figures that were being put to the people of Kenya so that they can see us into bad light. Unnecessary and expensive renovation at the official residence in Karen and Mombasa. How Mutusen knew is unnecessary, I don't know. He has never been here. You guys were here before. When President William Ruto was deputy president, he was denied funds for 5 years. This place was in very high state of disrepair. It took me 7 months to move in. The roofs were leaking, the toilets were blocked, the septic tanks was broken down, the borehole was broken. There was nothing. Parliament, in its own wisdom, allocated funds for the renovation of this residence. As a deputy president, I have nothing to do with public expenditure. In fact, at that time, the accounting officer, between 2022 and 2023 financial year, was the State House Controller. Procurement was done, tender was awarded, and the renovations were done. And you can see, the place looks good. There was need to dignify the office of the deputy president because he has a function of coordinating development partners. Ambassadors and high commissioners and all sorts of international visitors are always here. So to dignify the office of the deputy president, the residents needed to be in the right standard, and that is not my decision, and I have nothing to do with it. As for the contractor who was awarded the job, I don't know him, and I don't need to know him. I have no business. Where he transferred his money, I would not know. I have no access to his account. Whether he is related to me, the answer is no, I don't know him. And for the record, I don't wish to know him because it's not necessary. Government expenditure is audited every year by the Auditor General. Since this office was under the executive office of the Deputy President for that financial year, the Auditor General did her inspection and gave us a clean bill of health. The renovations that were done were not highlighted with having any audit query. If the Honorable Mutuse had taken his time to look at the Auditor General's report, he would not have brought this baseless accusation. And even if there was an accusation, it should be directed to the accounting officer, who is the State House Controller, not me. I don't deal with procurement. I don't deal with financial management. I don't deal with anything to do with public finances. But since the matter has been raised, I have to answer to it. I have looked at the Auditor General's report, clean. I have looked at the contract, it's signed by the Controller of State House. As to the work, that I can attest, they did a very good job. And this residence has been dignified. The same with the residence in Mombasa. You know, the residence in Mombasa is where President William Ruto and his wife, Mama Rachel, were chased away, and the house allocated to the regional commissioner. And on assuming office, I took up the residence. It was in state of disrepair. Again, it was renovated. It's a good place. And I normally go there when I go to Mombasa. And it makes a lot of sense, because before the renovation of that residence, anytime I went to Mombasa, I normally have a huge delegation of security people, hospitality, and all that goes with the office, not really me. The bills were very expensive. It makes a lot of sense to have an official residence for the Deputy President in Mombasa, so that when he is there, you cut down on public expenditure. Dubiously acquiring a substantial portion of sum of 100 million paid to Lusona Events Limited. Again, that's another ridiculous acquisition from the north. This is people who give services here for events. We have many meetings. You have come here for IBEC. There are tents put up here to the required standard. We have meetings here for development partners. This is a very busy residence. Most of you have been here. Again, I don't get involved in procurement. That is the work of the accounting officer and his team in public finance management. As to the person who does that work, I don't know he or she, and I have no business knowing who does the work. Those are things that are not in my purview. Again, the ridiculous accusations that money came to me, one would have to demonstrate how it came to me. Was it brought to me through my account, through cash? Who was there? What is the evidence? Again, it is just trying to throw mud at me. And I want to say that that accusation is baseless, and we believe we want to see the mover of the motion coming up with tangible evidence. Again, these accusations lack particularities and specifics. They are just generalized accusations. Again, we'll be challenging that again in court, because there is a ruling that grounds of impeachment must be well grounded and must be particularized and specific. This is just an allegation. Where is the nexus between the supplier of events to this residence and the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua? There is no nexus. I don't know the person. I don't know the company. I'm not involved in the procurement. I don't even know how it is procured. All I do is I want events, and they are arranged, and I take part in those events. Those accusations of funds utilizing the Deputy President, in the office of the Deputy President, coming for my personal benefit, are ridiculous, unfounded, and totally malicious, and there is no evidence whatsoever And I want you people, the press, to also have these people to give you the evidence. Don't just write headlines. Ask, where is the evidence? Where are the particulars? You know, you don't just allege, oh, this particular supplier, this money went to the deputy president. Yes, fine, that is good. How? How did it go to the deputy president? You must explain. Alleged sensational but false allegations against Lady Justice Esther Maina. It is alleged that the special notice motion at ground 4 had a gross violation of the Constitution, that I publicly attacked the Lady Justice Esther Maina and falsely threatened to bring action against her. I did not threaten to bring any action against Justice Maina. I did bring action against her. I was just informing the public because I'm a public officer and I have freedom of speech. I have filed a petition before the Judicial Service Commission against Justice Esther Maina in issues I felt I did not get proper justice. So I did not threaten her. I did what the law says. If you are not happy with the conduct of a judge, you file a petition before the the Judicial Service Commission, which I have done. Again, I don't want to delve before the matters because it is against sub judice, but that I have done. So I cannot be threatened. I cannot be said to threaten her. And again, I have a right as a leader, as a Kenyan, to say what I'm doing. And I did say publicly that I will bring a petition against her, and I have done it. And the evidence is there. You see it. We have filed a petition, and we are waiting for it to be concluded. Again, I want to emphasize that my statements were protected speech consequent to a decision by the landed judge in a matter involving my personal assets, which I disagree with and found to be wholly unfair. The matter having been concluded at last stage, my criticism of the decision was not sub judice, nor in any other manner prohibited by law. While I respond to the ruling of the landed judge, I was in absolute disagreement with it. Contrary to the assertions, the special motion, I did not forcibly threaten to bring action against the landed judge. I took legal action available to every citizen of Kenya under Article 168(2) of the Constitution, which allows any person to petition the Judicial Service Commission for the removal of any judge, and filed a legal complaint before the Judicial Service Commission in March 2024. The complaint being live before the JSC, discussion of the conduct of the land judge in the said matter here would be sub judice. Diverting materials meant for construction of Kilifi Malindi Highway to tarmac a private load to Vipingo Beach Resort. Again, I said Vipingo Beach Resort belongs to the estate of the late Governor Gachagua. The facts are as follows. King Charles III visited Kenya between 30th October 2023 and 3rd November 2024. During his state visit, one of the designated places where King Charles III was to visit was Kuritu Marine Conservancy, which shares a road with the Vipingo Beach Resort. And it's a public road, by the way, it's not a private road. I have annexed a copy of the program of the state visit to Kenya by King Charles III, marked RG, which at page 13 on item 63 and 64 shows his departure and arrival at Kuritu Marine Conservancy. As I was walking around, I slept there, I think 2-3 weeks before the arrival of the king. And as you all know, I walk every morning. And as I walked on that road, I found there was a lot of activity and tarmac was going on. I was very happy and I asked what was happening. And I was told that the king himself, the third, will be coming. So, like all other residents of that area, we are very indebted to King Charles III. That this was done very speedily. Rigathi Gachagua never called anybody to do this road. In fact, I'm informed that this road is donor funded, the one to Kilifi, and there is a component of corporate social responsibility. And I have learned, after I have inquired that these people of that road is called Takaungu Shariani Vipingo. It's off the main road, and I am made to understand that Kuritu Marine Conservancy, Vipingo Secondary School, Shariani Primary School, among other stakeholders, including a public market, applied to Kenya to be considered for corporate social responsibility. And I think the issue of the king hastened that request. And that's why I said we are grateful to the king. Again, I invite evidence to show that I influenced that road. In any case, I would like to know the member of parliament for that area, how he will vote in this motion. He should be a very happy man. If Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua occasioned a tarmac road to be done in his constituency, he should vote for me. But I didn't. And when I went there, that Shariani market, people are very happy with that road, because I walk there in the morning when I sleep there. People are very happy with that road. The secondary school there, the boys and girls are very happy. The primary schools are there. And again, contrary to the assertion by the Honorable Mutuse, it's not a private road, it's a public road. And it is serving many people, a primary school, a secondary school, a market, and a whole community, including the family of the estate of the late Governor Rigathi Gachagua. We are just beneficiaries of good deeds by our government that were hastened by the arrival of His Majesty the King III. Undermining the President and the Cabinet by allegedly making contradictory public statements from the position taken by Cabinet regarding the evacuation of the people residing along Nairobi River. To start with, for the record, President William Ruto has never complained to me that have undermined him. If he has told that to Honorable Mutuse, I would like to know that he has complained to Honorable Mutuse that his deputy has undermined him. Article 147 of the Constitution provides the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant to the President and shall deputize for the President in the execution of the President's functions. Article 28, which states that every person has inherent dignity and the right to have that dignity respected and protected. Article 29C, which states that every person has the right to freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources. Section 152G1 of the Land Act, which states that notwithstanding any provisions to the contrary in this act or in any other written law, all eviction shall be carried out in strict accordance with the following procedures. A, be preceded by proper identification of those taking part in the eviction or demolitions. B, be preceded by the presentation of the formal authorizations for the action. C, where groups of people are involved, government officials or their representatives to be present during an eviction. D, to be carried out in a manner which respects the dignity, right to life and security of those affected. Included special measures to ensure effective protection to groups and people who are vulnerable, such as women, children and elderly, and persons with disabilities. F, includes special measures to ensure that there is no arbitrary deprivation of property or possessions as a result of the eviction. G, include mechanisms to protect property and possessions left behind involuntarily from destruction. H, respect the principles of necessity and proportionality during the use of force and give the affected person the first priority to demolish and salvage their property. Critically, our Constitution provides at Section 147(2) that first, the Deputy President shall perform the functions conferred by these constitutions and any other functions of the President as the President may assign. Pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution, I, as well as every citizen of Kenya and state of public officers, have the obligation to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution in performing any of my functions. The national values and principles of governance contained in Article 10 of the Constitution by those state organs, public officers, and all persons, including myself as the Deputy President, wherever we make or implement public policy decisions. In relation to this matter, these national values and principles include the rule of law, democracy, and participation of the people, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. Adherence to these principles became extremely important when we, as state officers, are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced evictions that would be contrary to our Constitution and international law. While campaigning with the President, and subsequently, when I was sworn in as Deputy President, you can remember, I promised, as a key pillar to the Kenya Kwanza government, that there will be no forced and unlawful evictions, and that all evictions shall be human and entail legal compensation. You remember my inauguration speech. I said, never again shall this administration carry out inhuman evictions in a brutal manner as was done in the previous administration. I and my office, the Deputy President, have undertaken extensive engagement with all parties in regard to the cabinet decision on eviction, which I fully support, including the Nairobi River, which is an entity under the ODP and County Government of Nairobi. Adherence to these principles become extremely important when we as state officers are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced evictions that would be contrary to our Constitution and international law. Guideline number 6 of the United Nations General Assembly, guidelines for the implementation of the rights to adequate housing, prohibits forced evictions, and the state should ensure that any eviction under domestic law are fully compliant with international law. The guidelines further require meaningful engagement with communities to ensure that the rights of residents are implemented cooperatively without the need for eviction procedures or police enforcement. I have supported the implementation of cabinet directives on the eviction, safe for the fact that on being informed that each person residing at the Nairobi River was being evicted and paid only 10,000 shillings, which I and many other Kenyans felt inadequate compensation for eviction. I insisted that the government should abide by constitutional dictates and international norms while implementing any cabinet decision, including eviction, and maintain the dignity of citizens of Kenya facing evictions. My statements did not and cannot be construed to undermining the President, because the President, like me, sought to defend the very Constitution. I hope I'm very clear. Am I clear? I cannot, I will not oversee, supervise, forced, brutal eviction against the people of Kenya. That I will not, and I can't. President William Ruto and I on the campaign trail gave a solemn undertaking to the people of Kenya that under our administration, that will never happen. So when I was asked to oversee brutal, inhuman eviction against innocent people without notice, without compensation, without due regard to what the Constitution says, I found it very, very difficult, and I rescued myself and allowed the CS for Interior, the Head of Public Service, the PS for Internal Security to proceed. If that is the reason why Rigathi Gachagua should be impeached as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and sent home for refusing to undermine the Constitution, for saying no to brutal and inhuman eviction of poor Kenyans. Let it be. Undermining devolution by allegedly holding a meeting in Nairobi. Good people. I'm sure you are as embarrassed as I am. That a deputy president holding a public meeting to talk to the people of Kenya is undermining devolution. To start with, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, in the duties spelled out by the President under Executive Order number 1 of 2023, he has the duties to coordinate intergovernmental relations. I work with the governors. This is the home of devolution. I hold meetings with the governors every day. I chair IBEC. I cannot be accused. And I need evidence tabled that I undermined devolution. The motion alleges that on 29 September 2024, I unlawfully interfered with the running of the Nairobi City Council government by holding a public rally where I allegedly incited citizens against law directives of the county government on planning and relocation of markets. This is my response. It is not true that I incited citizens against the law directives of the county government as alleged. I wish to clarify and point out that when I held the public rally, I merely requested the governor of Nairobi County to speak and listen to grievances which were being raised by the market traders. Videos will be produced tomorrow in the National Assembly. I, Rigathi Gachagua, asking Governor Sakaja to take time to listen to the people and listen to their grievances. The traders had sought me out to intervene and request the governor on their behalf to dialogue with them and seek a solution to their grievances with regard to the relocation of markets. Had the governor listened to these traders, they would have had no business coming looking for me. All I was saying is listen to the people. Before you relocate them, have public participation. Most of those traders have lived in Wakulima market for 40 years. They wanted to discuss with the governor what happens to us, what happens to our customers, what happens to the distances that we cover, what about the extra cost of going to the new relocation. And I think the traders were right. Requesting a meeting with an elected leader is their right. And when they requested me to go and meet them, because they were desperate and they needed somebody to hear to them, I did go and speak to them. Again, this motion alleges that on 20 September 2024, I unlawfully interfered with the running of the Nairobi City Council by inciting citizens against law directives of the county government. The leadership of Nairobi business traders approached me sometime in March 2024 at my official residence to discuss multiple issues affecting business and requested engagement in the resolution and intervention on these issues adverse to business. Consequent to this meeting, I directed that short, medium and long-term strategies be undertaken, coordinated by the Office of the Deputy President, to address the issues raised that are cross-cutting with agencies including KRA, Kenya Post Authority, Counterfeit Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, the National Police Service, Kenya Copyright Board, given that devolution is under the Office of the Deputy President. I was just doing my work. On 11th April 2024, the Small Traders and Government Agencies Technical Committee, coordinated by my office, held a meeting to discuss issues raised by the small traders, including Mudhurwa Market, attended by ODP staff in a supportive role in keeping with the draft framework of cooperation and engagement between government, Nairobi City County, and the Nairobi business traders. Subsequent to that meeting, a meeting on 24th April 2024 between Nairobi City Council and the Nairobi Small Traders and numerous others, the ODP on 22nd July 2024 invited His Excellency Johnson Sakaja, among other state officers, to a meeting at ODP officers scheduled for 22nd July 2024 to review the draft framework of the cooperation and engagement between the small traders and the government of Kenya. On 3rd September 2024, the ODP wrote to Governor Johnson Sakaja and all other stakeholders, submitting a final combined draft of the framework for review and feedback. After all the engagement between all the parties and the draft framework, Governor Sakaja decided to arbitrarily proceed with the relocation of Muthurwa Market. That gave rise to the cry by the people. Meetings had been held, a framework had been agreed on, and as an elected leader, as Deputy President, I think going to listen to people who are in anguish, who are crying, is responsible leadership. The government that President William Ruto and I lead is a listening government, and going to listen to people cannot be an impeachable crime. I would like to know how members of parliament would want to send me home for going to listen to people who are crying that they need to be listened to. I would like to understand. Undermining devolution by allegedly holding meetings to fight alcohol. I think tomorrow will be the greatest circus. Or do I call it the theater of the absurd? That Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, undertaking duties assigned to him by the President to fight illicit brews and drugs across the country, should be impeached because by doing so, he is interfering with the devolution. I held meetings in Nyeri, attended by Governor Kahiga, Governor Waiguru, Governor Irogo Kangata, Governor Wamatangi, Governor Kiari Badilisha. I held a meeting in Chuka, attended by governors of Embu, of Tharaka Nithi, of Meru. I attended a meeting in Mombasa, attended by governors of Kwale, a representative of the governor of Mombasa, the governor of Taita Taveta, a representative of the governor of Lamu, to discuss. I held a meeting in Nakuru, nearly with all governors present, and all of us jointly, under my chairmanship, the Ministry of Interior and Governors, we agreed on how to tackle the menace of illicit brews. And we have a good story to tell. Out of those efforts, our young men who are sleeping in trenches are back home. Women are very happy, their husbands are back home and they are bringing food. In fact, some children have been born. Some have even been named Rigiji because of the effort that I have put in fighting illicit brews. I think the people of Kenya would be shocked to hear tonight that one of the accusations against their deputy president and why he should go home is because he led the battle to fight illicit brews and drugs that has caused havoc among our young people. Please, if Rigathi Gachagua is a problem, why don't you assign this job to somebody else? Because this job must be done. We must get our children off drugs. We must fight illicit alcohol. And saying that you want to impeach the deputy president because fighting illicit brews and drugs is interfering with the devolution. I think this is the greatest joke of the year. Even the 291 MPs who signed this motion, most of them, because I know them, have looked for me personally to thank me for the way I have successfully led the war against drugs and illicit brews. And that is why that sham public participation should have had my responses. so that the women could hear that one of the accusations against the deputy president is that he should be sent home because he was leading the war against illicit brews and drugs. I don't know. I think there is something wrong in this country. That somebody has sat down to draft a motion to impeach the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. And one of the grounds is that he has interfered with the devolution by leading the war to fight illicit brews and drugs. This is a height of absurdity. And Parliament will be the theater of the absurd. I would like to hear what is the nexus between fighting illicit brew and interfering with the devolution. I would like to know. I've never had any governor complain. I've never had any MCA complain. I've never had any Kenyan complain. The only Kenyans who have complained are few. They are the manufacturers who are manufacturing poison under the guise of producing alcohol. Those are the only few ones. I beg the National Assembly and the Senate, most of the National Assembly, to save face, to consider striking this ground before the motion tomorrow, because it sounds ridiculous to the people of Kenya. Again, if Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has to be sent home for fighting drugs and illicit alcohol, so be it. Sensational statements against the National Intelligence Service and its Director General and other officers. My response. In relation to this allegation, I wish to state that the National Intelligence Service holds a very critical role in ensuring the safety and security of our country. They are responsible for gathering intelligence and share it with all our law enforcement agencies to ensure that the country is safe at all times. Consequently, when the country was caught flat-footed with regard to the scope and extent of the public's dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024, which degenerated in the Gen Z protests, it pointed to the failure of the National Intelligence Service in carrying out its mandate. I am persuaded that the National Intelligence Service ought to have known beforehand that the public was completely opposed to the Finance Bill, and they ought to have briefed the President before the protests began, as this would have caused a change of tact by government regarding the proposed bill, and protest which culminated in the loss of innocent lives and destruction of property could have been avoided. Hence, I expressed my opinion, as this is my public media briefing in Mombasa, and my utterances were not any different from what happens to other countries when there is lapse or failure by the intelligence agencies. Many of you will recall that after September 11th terrorist attack in the US, the US intelligence agencies were massively criticized, and inquiry was even opened to investigate why the intelligence agency was not able to detect and thwart the terror attack. Under the Constitution of Kenya, the government agencies are supposed to be accountable to the Kenyan people, including the National Intelligence Service, and calling them out when there is a dereliction of duty does not amount to undermining them. In any case, the Director General of NIS is not above the law. He is a public officer. Just like the President, the Deputy President, Cabinet Ministers, he too is subject to criticism like any other public officer. In fact, I'll have videos. President William Ruto, as Deputy President, at one time criticized the then Director General of the National Intelligence Service. In another video, he heavily criticized the then Inspector General of Police for underperformance. I have learned from my boss how this job is done. It's clear. It's done. I mean, nobody, the President is criticized daily. The Deputy President is criticized daily. And we take no offense. The Director General of the National Intelligence Service is not above the law. He is a public officer. He is accountable to the people of Kenya. And when one feels he has underperformed, he'll be called out. Because that is the nature of the Kenyan state. And this I learned from my boss when he was deputy president. Again, there was an issue that the president and I committed ourselves publicly that never again in our administration shall ever we allow abductions and extrajudicial killings. Despite the police keeping on misleading the president to say that there are no abductions, you all know, you have evidence on video that they have happened. And that is what I commented, and I said it is wrong. And because I'm a truthful person, I'll say what is wrong when it happens. Despite the fact that I am compelled by the principle of collective responsibility to be part and parcel of every decision made by government, that I'll continue to do so, but only those decisions that are constitutional and within the rule of law. Abductions and judicial killings are unconstitutional. I will never support them. President William Ruto has been criticized left, right, and center. I have not seen him take anybody to court for criticizing him. Why is Rigathi Gachagua being impeached for calling out the Director General of the National Intelligence Service? The Deputy President is criticized daily. The judiciary is criticized daily. The media is criticized daily, including the Star, whom I've criticized today. But that is as far as it goes. And again, despite being just the Deputy President, I enjoy a constitutional right in the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech. And if the Director General of the National Intelligence Service was aggrieved, there are mechanisms of how he can take me to court and sue me for defamation. And I'll be able to argue why I said what I said. So that is not a ground for impeachment. I mean, that is curtailing liberties, the freedom of expression, the freedom to hold public officers accountable for their actions. And I want to say finally, I think I've literally addressed all the grounds because I felt it's important for the people of Kenya to know the allegations against the Deputy President and his responses. And as you have heard, though you are not judges and you are not advocates, there is nothing here that violates the Constitution. There is no gross misconduct. There is no crime that has been committed. I'm innocent on all these charges, and I want to clarify my apology yesterday to the President did not in any way imply that I'm guilty of these charges. I'm not. This I'm not. My statement was that if there is something I've done to the President that I don't know, that probably has upset him, I ask for his forgiveness. But that was in no way an admission of this ridiculous allegations meant to overturn the will of the people. Finally, in conclusion, I want to say that overturning the will of the people is not a joke. It calls for very serious violation of the Constitution. None of these issues here meet the threshold. We'll go to Bunge tomorrow. I'll be there at 5 for 2 hours, and I'll put my case. In the unfortunate event it proceeds to the Senate, I'll be there again to prove my innocence by way of evidence. When I called this press conference, there was a lot of speculation that Rigathi Gachagua wants to resign. This is a man elected by 7.2 million Kenyans. How dare you suggest to him that he can do so without public participation? I have no intention whatsoever to resign from this job. I'll fight to the end. I have tremendous respect for our judiciary and the professional judges of the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. And in the professional manner, they have handled serious issues affecting Kenya. The impeachment of a deputy president elected by 7.2 million Kenyans is not a small matter that can hastily be decided by a few members of parliament and senators and wish it away. I'll submit myself to independent institutions to get justice. And I'm sure, I have no doubt in my mind that I'll get justice. And this impeachment will be thrown out. And I'll carry out my duties as deputy president. That is why anybody sending feelers to me to resign is a joker. And I found a few of people using my friends to come and sweet talk to me. Please, my friends, I don't want to become enemies with you. When you are given such silly messages, don't bring them to me. I have no intention. I cannot resign. I did not give myself this job. I was given by the people of Kenya. I've done nothing wrong against the people of Kenya whatsoever. I've worked hard. I've been very loyal to my boss, President William Ruto. I have worked hard every day. And I will not be distracted. I think there's one issue I've forgotten, one ground. The issue of the shareholding, isn't it? Even you guys can remind me if there's one issue that I have not dealt with. Can somebody there give me my notes on shareholding? Yeah, I have them here. That's okay. Yeah, this is an important one. There are several. I had not. There are a few silly ones. There's one that. There's one that I'm conniving with cartels in the tea sector to block ATDA from implementing guaranteed minimum returns that would benefit small traders. The allegation is not true. No evidence whatsoever has been adduced to substantiate this claim. As far as I know, I've successfully completed my mandate, which was assigned to me by the President, which culminated into creating synergy between people who had taken KTDA to court and suspended the operation of the Tea Act. As a result, the Tea Act now is in operation. The president never mandated me to take over the affairs of the Ministry of Agriculture. He asked me to spearhead tea reforms. I did the tea conference in Kericho, brought all the stakeholders together, and as a result, I created a synergy among all the stakeholders, and we agreed that those people who had gone to court withdraw the cases, and now the Tea Act is operational, and that will see meaningful reforms. As to claims that I have stopped the selling of tea in Mombasa, there is no evidence to that effect, and I want to call upon the Honorable Mutuse to provide that evidence. Again, in matters coffee, I was given a job by the President to initiate the coffee reforms, which I have done successfully. I held the coffee conference in Meru for 3 days in 2023. For the last 2 years, I have been working with stakeholders, including members of Parliament and the Senate, which has culminated into 2 bills, the Coffee Bill 2023 and the Cooperative Bill 2023. These 2 bills, the Coffee Bill 2023 will see the reintroduction of the Coffee Board of Kenya that will market coffee for farmers without putting profit. We have also recommended the reintroduction of the Coffee Research Foundation or the Coffee Research Institute in Roiro to work on better varieties and drought-resistant crops. Through my efforts, again, I've completed my work. The 2 bills are before the National Assembly. I call upon members of the National Assembly immediately after the impeachment process to embark on these 2 bills and see them to fruition so that farmers can enjoy the work we have done in coffee reforms. I have seen another absurd, that I have taken control of a local cooperative society in Madira constituency where I was a member of Parliament. This is false. I should be told which society by name, because I know all the societies. I know all the farmers by name. It's really ridiculous. Again, there is no evidence. There is nothing. It's just trying to spoil my name before the people of Madeira who elected me as their member of Parliament. On the issues of shareholding, I think this matter has been discussed for a long time, and I think it's good tonight I put it in proper perspective. I wish to state that the allegation is equally false. None of my family members, allies, or associates are in control of any cooperative society in Madeira. That one I had done. In shareholding, by virtue of the provisions of the 3rd schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of Kenya Kwanza Coalition entered into various agreements which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. 16.2, the following were members, parties of Kenya Kwanza: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PAR, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, the Service Party, Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, Umoja na Maendeleo Party of Kenya, and the Democratic Party of Kenya. In accordance with provisions of Clause 3E of Schedule 5 of the Political Parties Act, each of the agreements contained in a power-sharing development agenda for certain regions in Kenya. I attach here copies of the said agreement. I'll give you the Kenya Kwanza agreement so that you know when I talk about shareholding, I'm not talking about Kenyans, I'm talking about this agreement that was signed by President William Ruto and almost everybody else on how power will be shared. I've never talked about sharing resources. I have been talking about power sharing for people to get what they deserve in sharing power in accordance with this agreement. Like, for example, in an agreement between UDA, ANC, and Ford Kenya, the UDA would nominate the president and the deputy presidential candidates, which has happened. I got my share, although I have no share certificate. The President would guarantee the stature, dignity, financial and operational autonomy of those of the Deputy President. It's in the agreement. The office of the Deputy President will be allowed specific duties identified at Article 21 of the agreement. ANC will be allocated a position of Prime Cabinet Secretary to be established within 14 days. It was given to Musalia. The office of the Deputy President, Ford Kenya will be allocated the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, which was given to Moses Wetangula. In accord with Article 2.1 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC and Ford Kenya would have a 30% share of national government positions. So, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the Honorable Wetangula, and the people of Western, please don't condemn Rigathi Gachagua. The agreement is here, defining your share in the government. It is not me. I did not sign this document. It was signed by Musalia, Wetangula, and President William Ruto. So when I say about this share thing in terms of positions, I've never talked about resources, about development, although it is also here, is that regions bargained with the president for shares. Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula bargained for 30% of shares within the Kenya Kwanza government, although they were also supposed to give us 70% of the vote, which they did not. Nevertheless, since they gave a certain vote, they are still entitled to some share one way or another. So it is not Rigathi Gachagua who said that a government is like a company. It is the agreement of the Kenya Kwanza, which I will be tabling in the National Assembly. It is not me. It went ahead to say it. He said, ANC and Ford Kenya would have 30% share of national government positions. That is cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, high commissioners, ambassadors, diplomatic and consular representatives, chairpersons of state corporations, directors of state corporations, chairpersons and commissions of constitutional commissions, provided the 30% share is to be shared equally between the ANC and Ford Kenya. Sasa mimi nikiambia watu wafuate share yao, makosa yangu ni gani? Iko hapa. I did not sign. They went ahead, Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula, and they must follow these things. Because I will not follow for them, because I was not party to the Western agreement. The agreements were with regions. So when people say I'm dividing regions, I'm simply following the Kenya Kwanza agreement of the way it was debated. They went ahead and said, Article 22 of sharing agreement set out a list of priority projects which Kenya Kwanza would endeavor to fulfill in the ANC and Ford Kenya strongholds of Western Kenya between 2022 to 2027 on a priority basis. Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula signed a package for Western Kenya. I've never had anybody call them tribalists, but they signed an agreement demanding for Western Kenya. They demanded, and it was agreed it will be done, completion of all incomplete or stored bitumen roads, construction of an extra 1,000 kilometers of bitumen in Western Kenya, revival and modernization of sugar factories in Western Kenya, establishment of new industries identified in Article 22 of the agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kenya Kwanza agreement on shareholding. What crime has Rigathi Gachagua committed to be impeached by saying what President William Ruto appended his signature to, with Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula who will preside over my impeachment? What crime has this man committed? The crime of this man is just being truthful, because people do not want these things to be known. That is the problem. People have a problem that I'm a truthful man. The people of Western Kenya has now known today what their leaders signed with President William Ruto. It is upon them to demand their share as per this agreement. I did not sign this agreement. I will read the people who signed. But because I was present and I'm a truthful man, I fight for the people of Western Kenya. Power sharing agreement between Kenya Kwanza and PAR of Amason Kingi. I want to give 2 examples. Yeah? In accord with Article 8 of the agreement, PAR would be allocated the position of the Speaker of the Senate. He negotiated for himself. Let's be truthful. You brought this motion. We'll discuss. The people of Kenya must know the truth so that if Rigathi Gachagua is being crucified for being truthful, let the people of Kenya know why he is being crucified. How can Moses Wetangula say I should be impeached because of saying people to get their shares when he is a signatory to a share agreement with the president on what will go to Western Kenya? And then they accuse me of tribalism. They did not say anything should go to Central or Mount Kenya. They talked about Western. When I say something for Mountain, I'm a tribalist. Kingi said, position of Speaker, you are power. Article 9A of the Power Sharing Agreement, PAR would nominate the candidate for appointment of 1 principal secretary when Kenya Kwanza came to power. Wamepewa. For Article 9B, the Power Sharing Agreement, Kenya Kwanza and PAR would agree on what share of national government positions, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, high commissioners, ambassadors, diplomatic and consular representatives, chairpersons, state corporations, etc., etc. Power sharing agreement, that is a word, so that nobody should ever again in this country ever accuse me of talking of shares. It is not me. It is my boss, President William Ruto, who appended his signature with other leaders that Kenya is like a company of shares. It is not me. And he signed the agreements. Sharing Kenya is here, it's being shared. True or false? True or false? They have shared the Speaker, they have shared the Senate, they have shared Deputy President, they have shared the President. That's what I've been saying. And then I'm being told that I'm dividing the country along ethnic lines. I did not append this signature. I'm just being truthful. That is my crime. People want these things to be hidden so that they pretend to be nationalistic and say Rigathi Gachagua is tribal. But the people who append these signatures are the ones who should explain why they were signing things for their regions only. Yet they say they are national leaders. Power sharing agreement between the Kenya Kwanza coalition on one part and the Communist Party, nini. So, Service Party, at least I saw Chama cha Kazi, they say the party leader should get something. Moses Kuria was given something. The Service Party of Mwangi Kijuri got nothing. You know? So, unajua sasa, ile shida iko Kenya hii ni ukora. And people not being truthful. The agreements are here. Like in a Communist Party, they have been making noise. They signed an agreement, they have not seen anybody. Yeah? So, my speeches on the shareholder issue are informed by their aforesaid power sharing covenants, which are founded on law and lessons learned from the well-known disputed 202 NAC power sharing agreement. Further power sharing agreements are a feature of government formation in all democracies in the world that provide the formation of coalitions. My pronouncements on the issue, properly understood, are not only anchored in law, but entirely harmless and incapable of being construed as a basis for ethnic animosity, a danger to national cohesion, or a threat to national unity. On the contrary, coalition building has been one of the most important innovations since the disputed 2007 elections in ensuring stability, equitable sharing of political power, national cohesion, and fostering of national unity of national unity. Indeed, Kenya Kwanza's main opponent in the 2022 general election, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, was a political party consisting of 25 or so political parties who also executed a power-sharing agreement as required by Schedule 3 of political parties. However, notwithstanding of the said power-sharing agreements, upon election as the Deputy President of Kenya, I went out of my way, as required by the Constitution of Kenya, to serve all Kenyans regardless of their political preferences during the election or ethnic origin. I'll produce videos on all those things. Again, my decision to embrace the broad-based government following the decision of the cabinet after the Gen Z protest is that I support coalition building. And even when the Honorable Right Odinga came, he got some shares. True or false? I mean, surely, why is Rigathi Gachagua being vilified? By just being truthful. You know, it's good to be truthful. I have heard that my saying we observe this agreement is a threat to national unity. I have never been caught by the National Cohesion and Integration Committee to tell me that I have said something that can create ethnic disharmony. On the issues of one man, one vote, one shilling, I am told again that it can create tribal hatred. How? The one man, one vote, one shilling is not a formula for Mount Kenya region. Far from it. The one man, one vote, one shilling talks about equity. The gist of that formula is that all Kenyans should be treated equally. If we are giving bursary to the children of Kenya, let us agree how many children we have. If there are 30 million and we have 100 million, we divide equally and distribute to every constituency to those children. If a hospital takes care of 1,000 patients, we decide based on population what is the size of the hospital to be constructed in Roiro, where there are 800,000 people. If one borehole serves 500 people, do you construct one borehole in an area where there are 10,000 people? You need to construct more boreholes. That's all. And these populations are everywhere in Western Kenya, in Kisii, in Rift Valley. The high numbers are not just in the Mount Kenya region. This is a formula, in my view, that is good for everybody. Again, it is not a law because I pronounce myself. It's just an opinion. And in our democracy, I think it's only fair to allow people to have freedom of speech and to be entitled to an opinion. There are those who talk one man, one vote, 1 kilometer, and it is their right, and we should also listen to them and consider. And all those opinions can be harnessed, and people can agree which is the best formula to take care of the people of Kenya. That is all I said. I wanted to read to the people, of course, the projects that were negotiated, but I don't seem to have that page. I produce it tomorrow in Parliament. So that when they hear I am fighting, I'm also fighting for them. Mine, for the Mount Kenya, and President William Ruto, we never wrote anything, because I'm a very trusting man. So is my people, as we did word of mouth. So once in a while, we may argue kidogo kidogo because there's nothing written. So sometimes it's when people say I'm blackmailing the president, but I'm simply asking, my boss, we agreed the following, can we please do it? We agreed this on that, can we do it? We agreed that the people of Mount Kenya who had been given jobs by Uhuru will not be removed without being replaced. We don't seem to be honoring that. Can we honor it? We agreed where we needed to replace somebody who has not performed, we exchange 1 for 1. Can we do it? We agreed that we need to give Mau Mau roads priority. Can we please do it? Because that is what we agreed. It's simply people being honest with each other and living true to a gentleman's agreement. That is what it is about. So I wanted to explain to the people of Kenya, I am not against any region of Kenya. I am just a crusader for honesty and for fulfilling written and unwritten agreements. That is all I am. I say if we agree on something, please let's do it. If we agreed we shall do ABCD before we are elected, let's do it. If we agreed we shall not brutally evict innocent people, please let's not do it. If we agreed that we shall create a good business environment for people to do business, please let's not do it. If we agreed there shall be no abductions and extrajudicial killings, please let's be true to the people of Kenya. That is all. So I want to thank every one of you. And because I've been in Parliament, I don't think it's necessary to have questions. I've been very, very clear on no issues, why I called this a press briefing. I've said I'll be in Parliament tomorrow. I've asked my team to try to give you all the materials so that you can also go and digest. But I think I've prosecuted my case before my employers, the people of Kenya. And I trust because the members of Parliament are also listening. They'll be fair, they'll be just, and they'll be true to their conscience and do the right thing, and not hang an innocent man without evidence. I wouldn't mind being crucified if there was evidence, but there's nothing, zero. I've explained myself to the fullest. And I think you and the people of Kenya have heard me. Let me thank all of you for giving me this time, and appreciate the media for your role to inform the people of Kenya, to educate them, to entertain them, and keep them abreast with what is going on. I want to thank you for your coverage of the shoddy public participation on this impeachment motion, because you exposed it for what it was, and your video clips are very useful for us as we argue in courts of law. You guys are wonderful. You are good people. No wonder you are called the fourth estate. I don't know where we would go in this country without you. We would have so much impunity. We would go back to dictatorship without the media. I want to encourage you to continue to be the watchdog on behalf of the people of Kenya, to protect the Constitution with zeal, to uphold the rule of law, and to call out impunity and corruption. And I want to say, after this impeachment, I want the members of Parliament now to focus on the corruption scandals around our country. The Adani scandal, the issues in public health sector, the glaring theft of public resources. That is what Parliament should consider and take time. And that is what the people of Kenya want. And I really want to thank the media for being a very responsible watchdog on behalf of the people of Kenya. Please continue writing. Where Rigathi Gachagua has gone wrong, please write. But always accord me the right of reply. Don't condemn me unheard. And I want to thank you tonight, because you have really written accusations against me. But I am also to blame because I never called you, isn't it? Now that I have called you, I want you to request you. Every accusation, put my answer. Is that not fair? Let the people of Kenya judge. You want to ask questions? Yes. But not outside this. Okay.
Your Excellency, thank you. We appreciate you hosting us here. You have said a lot in the last more than nearly 2 hours, so I'll be very brief in relation to what you said. My colleague Sam Gituk hosted you here on the 20th of September, and you said a motion of such magnitude cannot head to Parliament without the sanctioning of the party at the parliamentary group level and without the go-ahead or the green lighting by the President. Has President William Ruto in effect sanctioned that motion now that it's in Parliament? Second, this is in relation to your statement on the 4th of January this year regarding High Court Judge Honorable Esther Maina you have mentioned. You said you accused her of corruption, and you said you'll file a petition, but we never saw you there. You nonetheless said that you have filed a petition. Can you tell the Kenyan people when you have filed that petition? Maybe you can note. This one the same because, Your Excellency, you and President William Ruto hold the ultimate office that must provide answers for the Kenyan people. You therefore are open to accountability, scrutiny, and questions. When you took your oath of office, you told the Kenyan people that the country has empty coffers, that you inherited empty coffers. However, your statement is contrary to what the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics says, that at the time when you assumed office, the country had at its disposal 3.02 trillion Kenya shillings, includes revenue plus appropriations in aid. Why, Mr. Deputy President, did you make such a misleading statement in front of the Kenyan people and the world? Regarding your shareholding question, I'm sorry to hold you to account, Mr. Deputy President, that the context in which you have provided the agreement between the parties, the Kenya Kwanza parties, and your defense is different. This is what we said in Kericho County, that this government, on February 2023, this government is a company, you told the people, that has its shares. There are owners who have the majority of shares and those who just have a few, while others do not have any. You invested in this government, you told the people of Kericho County, so you must reap. You sowed, you tilted, you tilled, you put manure and irrigated. Now it's your time to reap. Some few months later, the High Court quashed the appointment of more than 1,406 KRA officials. And the judgment? 700 of those officials were either from the Kalenjin or the Kikuyu community. How much of a responsibility will you take, being part of the presidency, of such gross locking out of Kenyans who qualify, who are competent, who merit, yet half of those appointments went to only 2 communities?
That's enough.
Thank you.
One, the issue of Justice Minor is sub judice. I don't want to discuss it because it's a matter before court, but I'll be able to give you the date when we filed so that you can follow the petition. As to the issues that this motion cannot find its way to the Assembly without the President nod, that is true. It can't. It has its nod. As to the issue of shareholding, again, this is a matter that I'll be prosecuting. By answering your question, I'll delve into the merits and the demerits of the argument that will come up. But I also want to remind you that I did not say that it's a company. I said like a company. Like. You look at the clip, it's there. Like, I gave an example. And a company has shareholders. I've just read to you the 30% here for somebody. That's what I was saying. I was just being truthful without removing the agreement. Again, I am not responsible for making appointments in Kenya. I don't make any appointments. The Deputy President does not appoint anybody. You know, the appointing authority. Ladies and gentlemen, because my lawyers tell me we don't want to delve into the merits and the demerits of the presentation that I've made. Yes, Karanja.
From NTV. Your Excellency, when you apologized to President Uhuru Kenyatta, you said that the words used then were out of political reasons. And that's why you are apologizing. So why should Kenyans believe you today that what you're saying is not for political reasons, for your own immediate benefit? My second question, Your Excellency, what next if this impeachment happens tomorrow? If you're impeached, what next for you? If you're not impeached, then what next in this political marriage between you and President William Ruto?
Let's say your answer is what I've discussed here are facts. It's for the people of Kenya to look at the facts and decide whether they have the necessary veracity or not. As to what I'll do or not what I'll do, let's cross the bridge when we get there. I think Good people, we have had a long night. We have had a very long night, and you need to go and file your story. I want to once more thank you very much. Good people, asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki. Tutaonana kesho. Thank you.